present whatever beverage we're consuming. Sean, what are you drinking today?
I'm drinking sparkling ice, black raspberry.
You guys and ice. You guys love that stuff.
Yes, mine's just in a
Pretty
cup
good.
with ice. Yeah. Roger, what is your beverage of choice for our sprint?
I'll get up and get some water whenever we start the first sprint.
Yeah. I guess I'll do an intro. Hi, everyone. Today is the first of World Hopper sprints, which is very exciting. For those that join, you can choose to read, you can choose to write, you can do your laundry, you can study, just whatever would help you be productive. That's the goal. And I see some people here. Hello. Hello. What's everybody going to be doing? If you're reading, what are you going to be reading for the sprint? Hello, cool gamer. Hello. What are you guys reading, Roger and Sean?
I'm reading.
You talk about yours, Sean, because I'm not as excited about mine. That was Jeremy ranting earlier.
Oh, no, yeah. I feel kind of bad because it's live.
I'm reading The Undoing Project by Michael Lewis. And it's okay so far. It is nonfiction. It's about two psychologists. But I'm kind of waiting for, like, so far, I'm pretty far into the book. I feel like I'm like over a third into the book, and he's still giving me just like background information on these two psychologists. I'm like, when are we going to turn the corner and be like, this is what they did? This is why they're important. Because right now it's just like, there once were two psychologists. That's what it is so far. However, I will say, this guy, Michael Lewis, I feel like he's the most famous nonfiction author I'd never heard of, because he wrote Moneyball, which turned into a movie. He wrote The Blind Side, which turned into a movie. And he wrote The Big Short, which turned into a movie. Who knew? I've never heard of this guy in my life, but apparently he just writes nonfiction that can be turned into movies. So I'm waiting for the Undoing Project movie.
I told Sean that I feel like he must have connections or something, because that's a lot of them to be made into movies. I also heard him saying there once were two psychologists when he was talking to his mom on the phone right before we started our sprint. So I got a nice repeat twice in a row, back to back.
Yep.
I see a lot of fun things that people are reading today. Oh, yay. That's good.
I'm reading the Trials. I'm reading the Trials of Ashmount. The cover is misleading. It makes you think that there's going to be a lot in this cool magic school, and it's one of maybe 5 POVs. And it is listed as grimdark fantasy, but so far it's not grimdark in the way that the world feels nihilistic or like there's no hope. It's grimdark in that it just has incredibly graphic content for reasons of which I'm not clear on so far, beyond just making me not want to read it.
Maybe that was the point. There's like I want people to start this and then not wanting to finish it, you know? Like it's kind
of set up Game of Thronesy, where there's disparate POVs and you don't really know how they connect or if they're going to connect or like what the point of anything is that's happening. So like when the really graphic, horrible stuff happens in almost every POV where you're like, whoa, I didn't need to read that. But it doesn't feel like there's a purpose behind it, beyond just making me go like, I didn't want to read that. But who knows? I hear a lot of people say it's so worth it. And then I am concerned for them as my friends because I'm like, because one of them was like, I love every moment in this book. And I'm like, oh dear, we need to have a conversation.
Some of the things that you were describing were very unpleasant. So I got more things. I was telling Sean about the first part that you messaged us about, and I was like, compared to this one thing that Jashawn has read, it doesn't seem that bad. And then you said more today, and I was like, okay. So Sean hasn't heard about those, but I'll fill him in later. So
will I want to, or will I want to like forget? You know, like as soon as I hear it, I'm like, no.
You want to forget, but it will make me feel better knowing that you also know.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I also woke Alex up and started ranting at like 11:30 p.m. after he fell asleep next to me. I was like, Alex, we need to talk.
I don't think I've ever woken Sean up to talk to him, but I have woken him up to kill bugs.
Well, you tend to read in the living room and then your bedroom is further away. Alex and I tend to go into the bedroom at the same time, and I'll just stay up reading in bed.
Yeah, I don't really do that as much. Sean's I'm going to make fun of him for a second. So he can fall asleep. If he's tired, he can fall asleep, right?
I could fall asleep right now if I wanted to.
If I go
Just
into
right
the
here.
bedroom at the same time as him and I want to have my light on to read, he'll be like, it might make it hard for me to fall asleep. And I'm like, you were literally asleep in the living room earlier. What are you talking about? So he gets all fussy when it's known that he's set his mind to going to bed. Then he's like, But to be fair, we were talking about it this morning. I am a grumpier morning person. For sure. Like I
not
take
grumpy.
much longer.
You just take forever to wake up.
Yeah, Sean,
I'm just like,
we make fun of him. That's not quite accurate. It's more
not
like
quite
you
accurate.
bump,
I
he
stumble
bumps into
around.
walls because his alarm will go off and he just immediately stands up. And he just I've watched him literally bump into multiple walls. So he's not graceful, but I just lay there in misery. Like I curse the day because I don't want to get up, but I often am not sleeping enough. I feel like is another thing. But
let's see. And then Sean is more like Alex. Alex is the morning person of us, and I start getting energetic around 11 p.m. And he's like, "What is wrong with you? We're going to bed now." And I'm like, "No."
Yeah, that's me. I was a morning person as a kid, and now I'm not, and I'm trying to get back to being a morning person. I was doing pretty well, and then I got sick multiple times, and that threw everything off.
I just want to interject and say what doesn't make any sense to me is when, and it's happened the last couple of days, when you get very little sleep, like the amount of sleep you got was like I would be dead kind of sleep. Like I can't function on.
I'm highly functional on
3 or 4 hours
of sleep.
What's mind-boggling is you don't get any sleep, and then I think she'll go to bed, and then you're like, you know what? I'm actually not too tired. Again, around like 9 or 9:30 or 10. I'm like, how are you not tired?
I'll give context to what Sean's referring to. So we had to have our roof worked on, and the roofers were here from 5 a.m. until about 7:30. Monday and Tuesday, all day, just loud banging. You couldn't do anything. And Sunday, I went to bed at my usual time, which is to say around 2 a.m.
And I should say I warned her on Friday. I said they're coming either Monday or Tuesday.
I know, but I couldn't make myself fall asleep. Otherwise, I would just lay there and still need to. But anyway, I got up at around 5 when they were banging on the roof. And so I got about 3 hours of sleep. And then they came again the next day. And that was better because that I think was about 5 hours. And then I went to bed earlier than I usually do last night because I'm trying to, I told Sean, I'm like, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to see if I can reset my, is it called a circadian rhythm?
Circadian.
Yeah, circadian.
I always do that. I'm like, I know it's wrong. I was waiting for you guys to correct me. I don't know if there's a lag or if you guys are just thinking for a sec, but I'm like, I know it's wrong. But anyway,
I was just being polite.
I was just enjoying it because you were saying it multiple times.
Thank you, Roger. That's always nice. I just want you to humiliate yourself multiple times. But anyway, so I collectively got a full night's sleep over the course of 2 nights. But I figured I would use this as an opportunity to reset, and then maybe I can go back to being a morning person. Let's see what everybody's reading and if they are morning people or night people. Scroll back a little bit. So Priory of the Orange Tree. I was telling my patrons that I have kind of accidentally DNF'd that for the second time. Not because I want to, but just because I keep starting it and then I don't keep going. I really need to really commit because I don't dislike anything. I I don't know why. I always put it down, so I need to get back to it. I've heard a lot about this author, Marillier, but I've never read anything by her. And then Sean, isn't James S.A. Corey? Yeah, That's Leviathan Wakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not his
Hey,
favorite.
you know what? I'll go on record and say Leviathan Wakes is a much finer novel than Cryptonomicon. So throwing that out there.
So I do a lot of sprints on Patreon. And so patrons got to hear all about how much Sean hates Cryptonomicon. He hated it a lot. And it was
the worst book I've ever read in my life. Like, no contest. Not even close. It's terrible.
Oh, Roger, you read this, right?
Yeah, it's really cute.
Nettle and Bone. Engines of Empire. Yay. Senlin ascends. Hello. Yay, a sprint indeed. Also, Senlin, is it because of Jesse's buddy read? Wings of the Storm. I don't know if I know what that is. Oh, no. I've been nervous to read that author's works because I've heard they're a little more on the dense side.
Yeah, I have the fantasy one, whatever it is. Spear cuts through water.
Mm-hmm. Lots of wall pumping. I do that thing where if I do get out of bed, I will go from the bed to the couch. Like I just not. And I'll kind of pout about it. An early morning person. Very nice. My mom's a morning person. She wakes up super early to try to wear her dog out before she goes to work. And because it's so hot here, she has to get up pretty early.
If she doesn't wear the dog out, does it start chewing on things?
No, she just wants him to be, well, he probably would, but she tries to have it so he can't get to the things that he would destroy. But I think she just wants him to be tired so he doesn't have energy and he's alone kind of thing. He's a lab. And he's technically full grown, I think, now, but he's still in his puppy phase. He's very cute. But he's one of those, I don't know how else to put it. He's one of those dogs that you're like, you're a dog. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, he has all the dog, I want to play right now. Pay attention to me. You're not paying attention, so I'm going to be a little naughty. He's like one of those dogs, whereas Luna, I feel like, looks at you and pouts and sighs like a person does. I don't know if that makes sense. But his name is Dutton, and he's very cute, and he's sweet. And he's just a little derpy. He's really bad about... So dogs, sometimes, their attention will be grabbed if there's a dog on the television or an animal or something. But his is so bad that there's this one commercial that my mom was telling me about where she was telling me, oh, there's a sheep that comes on the commercial, and Dutton he'll run into the room when he hears this commercial. And I thought she meant a real sheep was in the commercial. And it's like a really poorly animated sheep. It doesn't even look like a sheep. And he really does. It came on and she's like, this is the one. He came running into the room. And I'm like, why? Because most of the time, once they don't have the scent to associate it with another animal, they lose interest. But not Dutton, because he's a derpy little boy. Sorry, my camera's not really focusing. There it goes. That's like Sean typically has to take a shower pretty quick. I feel like you drink your coffee first, though. Yeah, that's me. I start to get more and more energy around a certain time. I think that's true for a lot of people. What is it called? There is actually a name for when you're so busy in the day that you feel like you have to stay up so that you have time for yourself, even though you know logically that that'll make you more tired the next day.
But if you get up early, you also have time for yourself.
I don't know. It depends. I hate being woken up by an alarm. Me too. I am very dramatic internally if I have to wake up by an alarm. And truly, if it wakes me up, because I think it's different if you're in the process of waking up. But when an alarm brings you out of deep sleep, I hate that.
That's why Alex is so nice. He sets an alarm on his watch, so that wakes him up, and then he wakes me up.
Oh, that's nice.
That's a much nicer way to wake up.
Or he unleashes Katya on me because she is awful. She will not shut up. She will sit on my chest and scream into my face until I pet her.
Luna very cutely will come put her head right next to my face. And then sometimes if I'm not facing her, I'll just hear loud breathing and I'll feel it on the back of my neck. And the other day I was like laying really still on purpose, and she came over and did that. And then just to surprise her, I like reached over and started petting her, and then she got super excited. It was very cute. She's so cute. She's currently just laying over by me. Night owl. Oh, when I went to visit her, I was still in my night phase, and I also wasn't sleeping well because of the plane and whatnot. But I was up so late when I was at her house, and I felt so weird because I'm at her house, and I'm just like, I'm up in the middle of the night in my friend's house. This is the first time I've ever been here. I don't know. It felt weird to take a shower when everybody's asleep and stuff. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I felt kind of odd. Like I felt like I should have been asleep too. Roger, I feel like you actually were impressive because you stayed at our house and we were up late, and then you woke up pretty early.
I operate very well on very little sleep. As long as it's only a couple days. If it starts being like a full week, I'll start to get really zombie. But if it's just a couple days, I can do the same thing that you do, where it's like, I slept a cumulative 1 night of sleep in the last 3 days.
I think I feel it more now than I did. I felt it very much in the morning on those 2 days, but I didn't want to take a nap. One, because I couldn't because of the roofers. But also I figured that if I do want to get back into a morning routine, if I push through the fatigue now, then I can maybe be tired enough to fall asleep at a normal time, normal for most people, and then wake up earlier. Oh, that's fun. Yay. You have to commit. That's what I've heard about Priory, right? Yeah. And morning. Oh no, you need more than 5 hours. Oh, hey, Sean. Maybe you would love. Yay, book club. I've read Piranesi. The video where I talk about it will be up, I think, tomorrow. So that's coming soon. I
read it too.
Yeah,
Ooh.
We didn't like it. Neither of us liked it. Because, Sean can say for himself what he thought of it, but for me, I thought it was saying one thing, and when it turned out it wasn't saying that thing, I was like, oh, well, this is so much less interesting now.
I agree with that.
Oh no, he's offended. You gotta know.
Oh no.
And I also thought, like, well, I don't want to hurt any feelings here, but I'll speak my true thoughts. I thought the thing it had going for it was its writing, but even that I didn't think was mind-blowing at all. Like, I've read things that I think are much better written. So I was like, don't care for the writing and I don't care for the story. That's a no. Don't like it. But way better than Cryptonomicon. So you know what? Like, way better than Cryptonomicon. So there you go.
That's me after reading Of Houses, Sky, and Breath. It's like, well, it's better than that.
Sometimes you need
Ryan Cahill.
You need a hard reset sometimes. You need to read something so bad that whatever you read next seems really good. It's like the anti book hangover. You know, when you read a book that's so good that nothing can compare? It's like that, but in reverse.
Well, that's Revenge because I'm supposed to be reading Squeak.
Oh, jeez. Is that it's balloons? Yeah. Do you want to share, Roger, for anyone that doesn't know?
It's apparently in the Omegaverse, which I didn't originally know, which also has me kind of concerned because the Omegaverse is in a strange place. But it's I guess it's almost like a short story. It's only like 50 or 60 pages, so I don't know what that is. But it seems like it's balloon animal shapeshifters, where their bits are kind of latexy. is how I understand it. But I don't know. I will report back after I've read it.
That sounds really good.
By the way, this is what I figured when Sean said you could be a morning person. I was like, I bet they have children. I bet that's why nighttime is the only time. So that is the case.
That is a good point.
Oh.
Except for the smacking.
It's still
or
cute.
the tail flick.
Katya won't hit me with her paws, but she will start licking my closed eye, which is also kind of unsettling.
By the way, that was me at like every friend sleepover. Was like
But-
I was up early and I'm like,
This is the
I'll
exact.
pretend to go back to sleep.
This is the
That was me
exact
at Elle's
feeling.
house.
But you had Luna Bear to keep you company.
I did, and she liked to lick me too. I guess I'm just very
You did.
lickable.
But that's such a perfect way to capture what I was talking about. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Hello. That
Thank you. I feel seen.
so I
It
think
was
Sean and
immersive. That's true.
I think Sean and I
Absolutely.
both liked that element of it, but then everything else about it, we kind of I liked the writing well enough, the literal writing, not necessarily. I guess you could
I
say
just
the
got
voice.
tired of hearing about halls and
It's not
statues.
even that long. How did you get tired of
It's-
that? Isn't it pretty short?
It's pretty
Oh,
short,
Roger,
but he
you'll
really
see.
talks about halls and statues, like and
It's true.
vegetables.
It's the one with like the little column and like the little fawn thing on the cover, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I still, for me, it really does still just come down to what I thought it was saying isn't what it was saying, and then it was not as good as what I thought the story was. But I can't really talk about it more without spoiling.
I'll be doing a full spoiler vlog of it, so you can look forward to knowing more about the balloon animal. What now?
We are in different rooms. It gets kind of crowded if we're both in here. So it's just easier. Sean's in the room right behind me. So those shelves, there's a closet between, but basically they're sort of like, yeah, and he's in Sean's corner.
Yeah, it's all the
Those
comic
are
I
books,
was,
right?
I was trying to like reach out and touch you. That's what I was trying to do.
Oh,
Like we can touch.
I
our
love
hands.
you. Let's see. Night Owl. Hi, people. Yeah, it looks like there's love there. Sean and I know we're in the minority with that one. But anyway, we've been chatting for a while.
Are you gonna say?
And hello. Let's see. We'll move that.
Is that Alex or just a stranger just walking to your
It's a
house?
stranger.
Yeah. You should do something about that.
Did he ever get over where I got stung by a scorpion?
She asked if you ever got over where she got stung by a scorpion in the back of the knee.
No, don't tell me that again. No.
The first one,
I own it.
I think that the first one I liked, and I didn't dislike it by the end, but I do think at some point it felt like it could have, the first book feels as though it could have been a trilogy, in my opinion, because at some point we start to kind of gloss over events that I was hoping we would spend more time with.
Well, it covers
So
a
the
lot of
first book-
time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does a lot of time. So the first one was kind of middle of the road for me, but I've heard that the next books are much better. And so I still plan to keep going. So we'll see. Well, that's not that different from Sean.
We may
I was-
disagree about Pure Nessie, but we agree on when to go to bed.
I
There
don't
you
think
go.
I talked about what I am potentially reading. I couldn't decide, so I brought 3 books in. So Sean and I was going to read this much earlier in the year, but Sean and I decided to buddy read Kindred. So I've started it, but I haven't finished it yet because I didn't want to get too far ahead of Sean because he makes fun of me when I do that, and he teases me a lot. And then we'll have a
Okay.
live show for. Let me finish
Time out.
talking.
Time out. No, I want
not
to clarify something. So,
Okay.
Pure Nessie was the last book that we were going to buddy read. And I started it first, and I was like, hey, this is pretty good. There's some interesting things. I have predictions. And then I woke to a series of text messages.
Yeah, but like
of
2
like
or 3
her-
days later.
Of her thoughts. And I even got to a part that was like, this is where I stopped liking it. And I'm like,
page
I'm
number.
not there yet, for one. And you finished the book in a single sitting.
When it's pretty
I know.
short.
That's not a buddy read.
Okay,
Anyways.
I know.
You know that's
I
a
know
buddy
I'm
read with
guilty
your
of
wife.
that. I know I'm guilty of that, first off. I know I tend to read books in basically a sitting. But I will say that I was about 3 days behind. It's not like I started at the same day as you. I was
That's true.
behind, so
So
I
it's
was like,
your
I
fault
need
for
to
not
catch
finishing
up.
that tiny book in 3 days. Really.
Well,
I followed the tabs that I was assigned. I did not
tab
go
it
any
so that
further so that we could discuss as we went. So
I know.
Yeah.
I know. But I was very engrossed, as we've discussed. It was very immersive, so I wanted to keep going. And when he says I told him the moment it was ruined for me, I gave him a page number. I didn't say. And then this happened. Like, I didn't ruin the events of the book or anything. But anyway, unpause, untime out. I have Words of Radiance, which I don't know if I'm in the mood for right now. But we have the live show at the end of the month over on my Patreon. And then the replay will be available after that. And then, I don't know. I was thinking about starting this one because I was going to read it earlier in the year. And then I saw the audiobook would be coming out in April. So I was like, oh, wait. But The Serpent and the Wings of Night, especially
I've heard some people
because
talking about that.
because everybody's losing their minds over Fourth Wing. And I was like, this book wasn't exceptional for me. It was very funny. But I have heard people say that this one is better for them in their opinion. So I thought I would maybe give it a go. By the way, has anybody else tried Fourth Wing? I'm very curious. Roger read the samples.
I didn't
online.
even finish the sample. I only read the first 2 chapters. I was like, I don't want to read the third one.
Yeah, you couldn't do it, which was pretty funny. So, anyway, it was an experience, I'd say. It was entertaining. I will say I did read my arc of Rhythm of War in a day.
I was like, you can't. Elle will read on the regular a 400 or 500 page book in basically a single sitting. So if a 500 page book, which is technically a tome, is also a novella, now we're into some weird mind bending situation.
I'll keep that in mind about the end. I mean, I heard it was amazing from everyone, basically.
It's amazing if you're in the mood for brain candy and the dialogue does not throw you off and you don't think at all. If you spend a single second thinking about anything about the plot, it immediately falls apart.
I like how you are like giving thoughts on to the 2 chapters you read. Well, let me explain to you. Oh man. So my bookstore had it out early, so I started it and I messaged Roger and I was like, I don't know what's going on. The early reviews are so positive and I'm a little baffled. So that was fun. I was so nervous. I almost didn't put up my video for it because I was just afraid of like really petty, mean comments. Because I think certain books attract certain kinds of negativity if you don't speak highly, and I was afraid people would be like, why would I trust you? You have split ends or something. Like, I thought I would get really petty, mean comments, just like attacking my appearance, or I don't know. I was worried, but everybody was so nice, and the people that loved it were still really, really funny, and I don't know. I was like, yay, this is unexpected. I don't know if it's because I typically read adult fantasy, and I feel like, I don't know, some of us are sensitive because sometimes somebody doesn't like it.
There's another person who DNF'd it at 8%, somebody who's just not even going to bother reading it.
Let's see. Oh, yay, fun. It's new adult. That's how you really, because they're cool young people.
And they swear
but
and
yes, there's the
bang. Oh.
try blood. Oops, sorry. I'll get to that in a second. Blood, mercy, and servant. Yeah, I know it can be kind of tricky. There's so many different kinds of fantasy romance that are going for different things, I think. Yay!
Just
I know.
finding
Oh
the
no.
balance.
Yeah, we'll be starting the actual sprint in a moment. Thank you. I'm glad. Sean was there. He helped take it to the next level. I was like, hey, Sean, these are my ideas. Are you okay?
I
Are
completely
you down?
forgot that. I was like, I wasn't there. And I was like, oh wait, I was. That's true. I was there.
You were chasing her across a parapet.
Yeah.
I have thought about posting bloopers or something to Patreon, or I don't know, because there was at one point I was trying to let Sean know, because I had told him, I was like, say this one specific thing, and he wasn't saying it, so I was trying to remind him, and then what he thought I was saying was so not, and he just shouted it, and I was like, no.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty funny. And then when I was trying to get him where he was like, why are you in here? Luna kept coming in, which was very cute, but it was a little bit, a little different. Yeah. That's how I feel. I just feel like I need to find the ones that I like. Anyway, we've been chatting for a little over half an hour. So it's time to sprint. I think I will read this one, or start this one, I should say. I'm not going to read the whole thing, obviously. I have a 45-minute timer. Is that good for both of you? Yeah? Okay, let me get it up on the screen. Let's see.
I don't know. I'm really busy. I'm just kidding. No, it's fine. 45 minutes is good.
Yay. Okay, and then we'll all mute ourselves, and we'll get into our whatever anyone is doing for being productive. We'll go for it. So see you in 45 minutes, everybody. Here we go.
Hello.
Oh.
Hello.
Oh.
Okay.
Books or comic books? Is there?
Are you referring to the light novels? Because those are a little different than the manga. Are there comics though for Full Metal? I would recommend the manga or the show. That's what I would recommend.
Or are they asking Full Metal as in manga or just like some other American comic book?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
If you would like to clarify, and then Sean and I can give you our thoughts. How is everybody's reading? I was doing some laundry while listening to my audiobook. So I got most of the laundry done. Yay.
Multitasking.
Yeah, I was almost at the end of a chapter, so I was like, dang it. And I know that the timer paused at some point, so I might have cut it short a little because I tried to figure out about how much time had passed, so I probably would have finished the chapter then. What were you gonna say, Sean?
Oh, I finished my assigned reading for the week in this.
Has it gone beyond just there are two therapists? Do you understand more now?
They're now like friends, and they wrote a paper together that I think it's probably a famous paper. But basically how people don't use large enough sample sizes when they're doing their experiments, and they even in this paper they had a bunch of mathematicians and statisticians answer these questions, and most of them got it wrong, and they basically used that to be like, even these guys in this field can't get it right. So it's interesting. By the way, the one of them, Daniel Kahneman, I think he wrote that book, Thinking Fast or Slow, that kind of popular one. Anyways,
yeah, is it called Thinking Fast and Slow?
Yeah,
or something. Let me look.
I think that's a popular version of a lot of the things that he has talked about throughout his career.
Yes,
because it's about decision making, I think. Yeah.
Thinking and then comma, fast and slow.
That book, I don't know. You need different kinds of statistical power for different kinds of experiments. So kind of, there's no one right answer to that, but sure, we'll go with that.
Hey, he won a Nobel Prize, so I'm just, just saying that's what they're saying. I'll find the paper.
Yay, Witch Hat. Roger's read Witch Hat also.
I sure have. All 10 volumes currently available. When is the next one? July?
I think so. So not too much longer. It goes Final Fantasy 16 and then Witch Hat Atelier.
Roger, the paper was called Belief in the Law of Small Numbers. If you've heard of that.
Is that supposed to be like a reviewed journal article?
Yeah.
By the way, everybody.
Belief in the Law of Small Numbers.
Roger has his thesis defense coming up.
T-minus 2 weeks.
Wish him a calm, relaxing next couple of weeks and a good thesis defense.
Is it a super old paper, Sean?
Yeah, I think it's from 1970.
1978. Maybe no.
Sean has read Vicious.
I have.
I liked that reference. Yay, good job.
I did like one of the quotes in here though. So kind of the vibe is Daniel Kahneman is kind of he very much doubts himself, And so he and this other guy, Amos Tversky, wrote the paper together. And Daniel says, if I had written it alone, in addition to being tentative and having 100 references, I would probably have confessed that I am only a recently reformed idiot, which I found that very funny. I could have done the paper all by myself, except that if I had done it alone, people would not have paid it any attention. It had a star quality, and I attributed that quality to Amos. So there you go.
I was answering something.
Well, you already answered it, right? Manga over light novel.
Yeah, I know.
Manga.
Sarah, pull it up. Everybody's wishing you good luck.
Thank you.
Are you getting excited? I feel like the other day when we were talking about it, you were talking about how just the what comes after is giving you more anxiety than the thesis defense itself.
Well, because everybody I talk to, the job market is just terrible right now because a lot of biotech companies really expanded for COVID. And then that kind of lasted through last year. And then this year, they're really starting to do layoffs, closures, that kind of stuff if the companies weren't able to pivot. Because COVID is largely over in the eyes of the biotech industry. There's not like a whole lot of government funding coming in anymore and all of that kind of stuff. So, but my current boss offered to hire me on at a postdoc salary on a month-to-month basis until I find a new job. So I'll get a 50% pay increase while job hunting, which is lovely.
Yeah, that's a pretty perfect way to search for jobs.
Yeah, and she just requested I give her a 1 month notice, and I was like, that's fine.
Oh, there you go.
If I have to. The goal was not to do a postdoc, to just get a job, but having postdoc experience makes you more competitive when the job market sucks, so I don't think I'll have a choice.
Do you still have the opportunity to come here?
Yes, but the postdoc here pays $15,000 a year more.
Is the cost of living better in that part where you're at than it would be out here, do you think? Or does it just depend on where out here you were to potentially move to?
I think apartment-wise, it's probably about the same, but the apartments in Arizona would be nicer at the same price point.
Yeah. We actually do have some good apartment complexes, I'll say. I liked our apartment complex, minus the scorpions.
But Tempe, ew.
Unless he lived elsewhere.
Then you have to commute. Ew. Ugh.
Commuting's not that bad from a lot of places, though.
I mean, for my whole undergrad, I commuted 45 minutes each way, and that was only if I left by 6 a.m. If I left after 6 a.m., it was closer to 90 minutes each way with traffic.
That was my situation, too, because I lived at home to save money, and I had some classes that started at 7:30. I'm like, why? I don't want to, because then I'd have to get up super early, and a lot of times I would work at night, not a night shift necessarily, like not a overnight or anything like that. But when I worked at Dairy Queen, sometimes it would get really busy, and then by the time we finished up, it was 10:30, 11, and I'd have to come home and study and whatnot. So then I'd have to wake up super early in order to beat rush hour traffic. And then I couldn't afford the parking pass near where my classes were, but Sean had a parking pass for that area. So he would pick me up from the really far away sucky parking, and then he would drive us because he also is a music major. So that was nice. I know. That was always good. I mean, they had a shuttle, but sometimes, they had shuttles that went to different spots, and I used to ride the shuttle, but then there was one time I got on the wrong one, and then I had to get off and then run from the other side of campus with all my stuff, because music majors, you have your instrument and laptop and extra stuff that I feel like a lot of other majors do. And then sometimes you would just miss your shuttle, so then you have to wait, and other times you would get on your shuttle. But Tempe, for anybody that knows about ASU, that area around ASU is horrible with traffic. So sometimes it was just faster to walk than to take the shuttle. But I did get some exercise in without even trying because I was always walking around with so much stuff. There's another one for you, Roger.
I don't want to be a PI and managing my own lab. I don't want to do the man of many hats, having to find funding and mentoring and teaching and doing all of that. I would maybe consider doing like adjunct faculty or teaching faculty, or somebody who's like managing the lab classes. But I would prefer to do something in biotech or pharma.
Let's see. I lived at home for my degree to save money and had an hour bus commute to school. Yeah, that does work out nice. I very unsafely would study while driving. Because, okay, wait, it's not as bad as it sounds. I'll say that because I have vivid memories of this. So our music history course, some of our exams, we would be given this big list of music. And in our exam, they would play a tiny snippet, maybe like 20 seconds from a piece. And we would have to identify what that piece was. And it doesn't sound like it'd be that bad because you're like, well, they gave you the list. You just have to listen to that list. But I don't think people realize we're talking like a full symphony that's 40 minutes long. And it's a huge list. So you have to hear this entire symphony and remember what the whole symphony sounds like and not mix it up with other pieces of music from that same time period. And so I'd be in the car, just like I would have a playlist of the music and I would just randomly, without looking, like select one. And then I would try to remember what it was. And then I would like look really quick to see if I was right.
I don't even remember what I did for that because I don't think I don't know. I didn't like listen to the full pieces. I'd just try to get a feel for it.
Yeah, I think it would be even harder for you because you were a jazz musician and most of them were classical. So I feel like at least I had some knowledge ahead of time of certain pieces. But man, I probably would not know any of them anymore. I know some. I do. It was always fun to go to Harkins movie theaters because they always play classical music in the bathrooms and be like, do I know this one? I don't know. That's probably nobody else probably does that. But I have fun trying to guess the piece.
Yeah, it was from the era when you would go up and like record lectures, and so I would play back lectures sometimes on the commute. But
so you'd kind of do a similar thing.
I mean, that was my version of studying. I just have a pretty good memory for stuff usually. So if I went to class and then listened to the lecture once, I could usually hold on to whatever information I needed for that semester. That was my version of studying because I didn't really study all that much.
Let's see. I don't think that sounds easy at all. I don't know that I'd be able to do that with songs I listen to regularly. And then music exams are insane. What is even the point of testing that? I think they just wanted us to build a knowledge of a lot of different pieces. I will say harder than that for me were actual ear training exams where they would play something on the piano and then they would tell you the very first note and that was it. And you would have to have good enough ears to hear every single interval. And the way they would grade it, it would depend because you could miss points or not miss points depending on a couple of things. So let's say the first few intervals were correct and then the next one was wrong. So that interval and thus the note is wrong. But if you got the next interval correct, then they wouldn't mark you. Or if you got the next note right, they wouldn't mark you, if that makes sense. So it's like you could kind of get back on track. But it also meant you could very easily get off. And they would play it, Sean, like 3 times. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And it was
then
not
there's
just like
the
couple
kids,
notes.
The kids with perfect pitch who are looking around like, why is this so hard for you guys?
It was so annoying. If
it's like, because I don't have perfect pitch.
Yeah, I'm sure people could use context to figure out what we're talking about. But if you don't know, perfect pitch means you can hear any note and you know what the note is. So they didn't. It's like just announcing like A,
an E4.
C sharp. They would know exactly, and you're like, ugh. But I thought those were quite difficult. I hated those. And then they would also do chords and Sean was much better at this than I was because this is a thing that jazz musicians listen for. But they would play a chord. So a chord is like, a series of 3 notes. So if it's A, C sharp, E, then that's in its regular position. And then sometimes they'd play those same notes, but they would have the bottom note be the second. So it'd be the C sharp, E, A. and they're called inversions, and you'd have to be able to recognize what inversion the chord was. It was frustrating. It's not fancy, but you should do. Whoops! I almost accidentally blocked you. Sorry. It's not fancy, but you should do a music major YA reading vlog. Oh, that sounds cool. That could be cool. I'm not sure the specifics of that.
I mean, you used to do the cool stuff where you would like make random compositions for characters and stuff with like, I think you did it for Kaladin.
I did Kaladin and Syl. I have the Dalinar one. It sounds the ugliest, but intentionally so. And then I have one for Skyward, and I have another one. Oh, Mistborn. I liked the Mistborn one. I mean, hopefully liked them. I wrote them. But they take a really, really long time, and I just don't feel like I have the time right now. The Mistborn one did pretty well. I was surprised. Every now and then, periodically, I go back and look, and I'm like, oh, wow, there's a lot of views. I always have been, that's the one art form. I mean, I would like to be able to draw better, but dance is something that I have no actual physical experience with, but I love to watch dance, and I just think it's great. I'm sad that I'm not a dancer. I had to do interval tests for my RCM exams, and I always needed to associate an interval with a well-known song. Yep, that's very common. So perfect fourth is Here Comes the Bride. Dun, dun. And then a major sixth is the NBC theme, which when I would tell my students that, they would be like, what's that? And I'm like, gosh darn it. I'm like,
what's
20.
NBC? I stream everything.
Yeah. I'd be like, the da-da-dum. And they'd be like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, okay. I don't know how to connect with you. But I was like, well, just listen to that. And that's a sixth. It will identify the time period the piece of just by listening to it.
Can I just say something about this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yes, instruments used and not used is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
But if that was the goal, and I think that was the goal partially of our music history class, it has failed me, because didn't you play me something and I was like, that sounds so modern. I was like, what is this, like 20th century? And then you told me it was like 1700s or something.
Well, here's the thing.
And I was like,
that piece,
fantastic.
That piece did sound like a completely different era. That actually shocked me. So
it was ahead of its time.
I can usually tell for the most part if something is Baroque. That's pretty obvious because it has a very different sound. But weirdly, some Baroque music sounds more like Romantic era. And then classical is square. Like literal classical era usually is the kind of classical music that people are like, it's just kind of boring. It's usually that era. Romantic is where everybody, I'm always like, you like classical music, I promise. You just need to listen to the Romantic era. So like Tchaikovsky is an example. There's a lot of other pieces that I don't think Isai is as acceptable or accessible, I mean. But Isai is so cool. The modern sounding piece, I'll look it up, Evie. I will find it in a moment if I can. Oh, nice. First law. Yay. Hi, Hugo. Always wondered how a musician could listen. So jazz musicians, that's what they do. They pretty much learn things by ear, and classical musicians, depending on the instrument you play too, can make it easier or more difficult. So I am not very good at being able to listen and immediately play back. It depends though on what it is. But I think that if you play an instrument where you play chords easily, you tend to be able to pick up on those things, I think, better than instruments that play more lyrically, that play more of the main theme. And violinists tend to get that. So it's nice for playing because you often get the good parts, but it does kind of stink as far as making you better at hearing all the other stuff. Those are good. Those are ones that I feel like people often really like because they're so beautiful. Let me see if I can find, I'm going to look it up really quick, that piece, because it's stupid pretty. It's so pretty. And this one Prodigy, annoyingly, their performance of it is so, so beautiful. Let me find it though. If anybody else has any other music questions, Sean can. Oh, Sean.
Hey. All right.
If
That's
anybody is interested in getting to know more, learning more about classical music, if you haven't seen, they're a very large channel, so you've probably seen them. But Two Set Violin, they're hilarious and they're really good. And they also, I feel like, have no shame. So they make very, very good videos. But they have a video where this is where I first discovered this piece, and then I thought it was so pretty, and now I'm forgetting the name of it, or the name of the composer, because I think the piece was just, it wasn't sonata, but it was something like that, I think. Let me see. So, Roger, how was your reading?
It was okay.
Is it still a lot of?
It's not being uber graphic in every chapter anymore. Now it's just calling back to the horrific things that happened in the first chapter, where people are like rubbing it in their face about things that were done to them. And the cool volcano magic school, I like the setting, but the character that we're following is 100% a sociopath. And you're following from his perspective as he literally does not care about anybody or anything besides himself. Even this girl that he had a crush on going in, now he's like, oh, well, she's a peasant. Why is she even here? And I'm just like, can you die? Can we stay in this POV and learn more about the cool magic school and you just die? And then I got to a point where it was like the most info dump of info dumps, because they were being introduced to the magic school. And it's like 3 pages about the 4 branches of the magic. Like, okay. Subtle. Just let's just list it out exactly what they do and how it
works. The volcano thing makes me think of Elden Ring.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool because it has a magic shield around it. So it talks about how the volcano spits magma on it and it sloughs off their little magical shield. But that's only one of 4 cover. POVs. And then the POV is a piece of garbage.
I found the piece, so I'm just going to show so that you can see Vitali Chacon in G minor. So there you go. Oh, Roger, someone asked.
I'm reading The Trials of Ashmount by John Palladino. It's a self-pub book. And like I was telling Ellen Sean earlier, it's the kind of grimdark where the world itself doesn't necessarily feel super grimdark. It's not like everything is terrible and there's no hope anywhere. And it's just the kind of grimdark where it's gruesome and grotesque just for shock value so far, because that's how they've introduced every POV so far has had something atrocious, like forced cannibalism of a loved one or murder of babies. It's just really intense. And then he does it like a cliffhanger at the end of a chapter. He'll just be like, oh, she was eating her mother. And then it's next POV. And you're like, okay, cool, thanks.
Did you say eating?
Yes, eating.
Consuming?
Oh, it's even worse than that. I will tell you later. It's real bad.
Like cannibalism?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah. Just looking at some of this. Oh, I didn't see this one. I also like Vivaldi. I also like Debussy and Holst. Holst wrote the planets. Everybody knows Jupiter, likely, even if you're not sure you do, because they play it at a lot of, not the graduation piece of music, but they play it at a lot of graduation-esque events. And you've probably heard some of the other planets. You've probably heard Vivaldi does Summer. The 4 seasons in general, but summer is the one that people always play to look really impressive, because it sounds really impressive. It's not actually that hard. Mozart. I like some Mozart. Book recs with planets that have rings.
Like Saturn type planets, I'm assuming. I don't know. I don't read sci-fi.
I don't know.
Ring World.
Anyway,
I haven't read it, but yeah.
No, it's just a shot in the dark.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be a little outside of my wheelhouse. I think we're just gonna stick to the I think that we'll stick to the one sprint and a lot of chatting that we did, because Sean and I need to eat dinner. A bassoonist. Yeah. I have to say really quick, this is the last thing I'll say. So for music ed majors, we had to take methods courses, which is where you take barely any time to learn other instruments. And I liked bassoon a lot. And it was funny because my dad had no idea what a bassoon was, and I had to practice. And he just kept laughing at he thought it was so funny, the noises that I would make. But I gotta say, I liked bassoon so much more than oboe. Oh my gosh, oboe was awful. I don't know how anyone doesn't, because the pressure that comes back, it's painful and you get so out of breath so quick. I've never almost passed out so many times than when I had to try to play that. It was very frustrating. There's something. Anyway, Roger and Sean, did you have any final thoughts?
I played saxophone in elementary school.
Saxophone.
I did recorder
That's
to
fun.
clarinet to saxophone. Recorders are awful. Those are evil. They sound so terrible.
Oh, that's so cool. Maybe leave it in a if it's just a link, then go ahead and comment on, if you don't mind, the Vinland Saga chat, and then I'll know that's there, because I don't think there are any comments on that. Oh, Rachmaninoff is good. This is cool. It's cool to see so many people know.
Where's
About
all
Rachmaninoff.
the jazz music in this conversation here?
What's your favorite jazz musician, Sean? That can be your closing thought.
I can't choose.
You can't choose.
Give a couple then for the people to go out and check out. For people just
Or-
getting into jazz, what would be your recommendation?
Yeah, those are two separate things.
There you go. I
His
changed it
favorites
for
and-
him. I changed it for him to make it theoretically easier.
Just getting into jazz.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can go wrong with Miles Davis, like his classic quartet with John Coltrane. Mm-hmm.
The names are familiar. I've heard these names.
I feel like old school, like Armstrong is good. And all those big band type of stuff. I think, as somebody who's not as well versed in jazz.
Is your snooty face coming on there, Shauna? You're like,
No,
oh
no,
my
no.
God.
No, not at
No,
all.
he likes it too.
Okay. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell for a second there. I was like, is Sean being like, oh God?
Sean, what's the
Hey,
name of the
bird. See, bird lives. There it is.
what's the bum bum ba-da-dun da-da-dun dun? Who is that again? Da-dun da-da-dun da-da-dun dun da-dun. Remember he does
Oh.
like
Yeah. You mean Trombone Shorty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's very accessible.
That's very
It's very
accessible.
cool sound. It's very cool sounding. So that's kind of
He
fun.
sings a lot now, which is less my
Oh.
favorite.
Yeah.
I was like, can you go back to
Just
playing the trombone?
Personally, or do you prefer just instrumental music?
I think I just prefer. No, I think he's probably fine. I don't think but he's not amazing though. I guess that's the thing where I'm like, you're really good at one thing, but you keep doing this other thing that you're less good at. So I don't know.
Sean does love Ella Fitzgerald.
Mm-hmm. Sarah Vaughan's good too.
And I like Bing Crosby a lot. But I feel like
Dinah
that's
Washington. Dinah Washington is dynamite. Hey,
how
somebody saw
fun.
Trombone Shorty live. I'm glad he played. Just saying. That's good.
Let's see. It was awesome hearing it live. I think jazz is tough because there's different kinds, just like anything, there's different kinds. And I don't know that because it's not as popular as pop music, I think it's just everything seems like, oh, that's all jazz. And some jazz is more rock leaning. Some feels older. Some feels very much like, what the heck is happening right now? So it just depends. Oh, yay. That's true.
That is true.
How hard is it to transition between playing different brass instruments? So
I say it's hard.
Yeah, I actually think it wasn't as bad because my embouchure is nothing because I'm not actually a brass player. So when I had to take brass methods classes, I didn't think any of them were hard to switch between because for me, I'm like, oh, I just tighten here or I just relax. But that's because I don't have it set. So trombone was actually the easiest in my opinion because it was like it wasn't too tight or too loose. It's just right. And tuba
that's actually what I was gonna say. I think I may be biased, but you just supported it. I think trombone and euphonium are the easiest embouchure by far, and then trumpet is too tight, and tuba is like too loose. Yeah,
and
like,
French horn is
that's the mouth position that we're talking about with our embouchure or whatever the hell you said. Okay,
embouchure. Yeah, trumpet's very like
trumpet's
pinched.
so tight.
It's very tight. And I would say French horn is very sensitive. Like if you move it just a little, you're in a different register. And that's not really the case with some. I mean, obviously adjusting your embouchure helps adjust where your pitch is, but I feel like French horn, from the little time I had with it, was more sensitive than the others. That is so cute. That makes me excited.
Hey, you know what? My real final thought is everyone should listen to Thelonious Monk. That's my real.
That's not the most accessible.
It is too. It's amazing.
Everybody should go listen to that piece that I had on the screen earlier and that specific performance of it because it is so beautiful. It's like as soon as she starts playing her first note, I just suddenly want to cry because it's such a beautiful tone. Ugh, it's so good. Oh. Oh, that's what we should end it on. That's so cute. I feel like
so anything beyond 1940 though, she's like, like just doesn't.
She run away.
Like if you put on like I don't know Clifford Brown, she just like freaks out.
That is so cute. Oh.
I've actually heard of that. Probably because you plugged it.
Anyway, this was a lot of fun. Sprints are always fun because they end up going into really weird areas. I used to play flute and I could never get the right embouchure. LOL. I never had to do flute and I'm so grateful because it seemed so hard. She grunts more and gets agitated. That's so
she's
funny.
A Swiftie. What a interesting mix.
I'm more of when it comes to pop music, I like Miley Cyrus. I like the rasp a little more, her rock stuff. And it's funny because my mom randomly one day I was like, you know who I kind of like? And she's like, Miley Cyrus. And I was like, yeah, how did you know? And she's like, I do too. She's like, I love that raspy girl voice. My mom's fun. I wish people knew a little bit more about her so when I impersonate her, they know how accurate it is. Next time we'll have to talk more about playing instruments because it is fun to see what people played in high school, what they like, the different instruments they tried out. So maybe next time we'll get into that a little more. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining. Our next one should be in a couple weeks, and Jade is planning on joining for the next one, which will be so fun because she just has so much going on that we don't get to see her very much, but we'll get to catch up hopefully in that. But it was a lot of fun. Thanks everybody who joined. Thanks for sharing all of your time with us and your fun stories. And we'll see you all later. Bye.